Let's check out these trades. Check out these trades. Hey, hello. Camilo Anthony? What the fuck? Man, how old is this team gonna be? 36, 30. Man, what the fuck? Hey, Rob Palinka, how you doing, my man? You doing good? You right? You staying good? Stay healthy? Yeah, this is Chris. Yeah, go ahead and say my number. Yeah, we're going to be friends, yeah. Hey, listen, I seen that you signing anybody to the Lakers, man. I'm good for a 10-day. What do you need? Ball boy, water boy, I cut the orange slice. Hello? Just motherfucker, hang up. What is good, everybody out there? Thanks again for checking in for another episode of Court Thoughts, the channel where we basically talk basketball. This segment, we're going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to call this segment TeaTalk. Really, what we're going to be doing is drinking some bubble tea and talking hella shit. Let's get into it. Today's drink of choice from the homies at Gongcha, can't go wrong, is taro milk tea with pearls. Love it. Highly recommend. I'm sure that sounds really good. Alright. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the situation of age within the NBA. So recently, there's been a lot of news around the recent signings within the Lakers, hence all the Laker gear. Looking at the Lakers roster, there's 6 players that are currently over the age of 35. The youngest being Rajon Rondo, right on the 35 mark, along with Dwight Howard. We've got 3 guys that are age 36, with Trevor Ariza, Marc Gasol, and LeBron James, and the last being Camilo Anthony, who's 37. Now, I really don't think that it plays too much of a bearing on a team's capability to win, and a perfect example of that is looking at players like Jamal Crawford. The overall aspect on a team's success to win, in my opinion, really comes down to a handful of things, but it really, I would say, is the team's capability to work cohesively. Role players know what their role is. They don't step out of it unless they're required to, and they deliver. Irrespective of their age, I really don't think it matters two shits whether or not they're 36, 37, or 40 for that matter, as long as they're able to produce. If you look at the roster signings that have come into the Lakers recently, they all play different types of games. I don't necessarily think that they play similar. They all play very differently, and they all have different strengths. Obviously, looking at guys like Marc Gasol, a little bit slower, but with the news of DeAndre Jordan essentially leaving the Brooklyn Nets and a strong chance of him signing on with the Lakers in the rumor mill, that might potentially shake things up in regards to how they play, but I really don't think that overall age plays much of a factor in a team's success. What do I mean by that? Well, look at a team's capability to play. The team ultimately, whether they're 22, 32, 42, they really are set to achieve certain tasks. If you look at certain players and say, well, what is their task? Do they act on that task, or do they have success within that task? And do they work cohesively within what the team needs? If they do that, then theoretically there shouldn't be a problem with the team being able to win. And age really doesn't play a factor into it. One of the variables that can be along with that is health. If you think about a team being able to get deep into the playoffs, a lot of the time it comes into the team hitting their stride and hitting their flow deeper into the season and being on a strong enough performance across the season that they carry themselves into the finals. And a lot of it comes with things like luck. Players can get injured from all sorts of things. Getting stepped on at a weird angle, weird movements, and really that can happen to young guys. I don't think it really is exceptionally going to be the case with older guys. It can be just with things like wear and tear, but other factors can be things like weight, play style, how are they playing within that role, and are they primarily going to be exposed to more injury-prone situations like big guys. Big guys are generally going to be in the posts, banging up, whether they're getting rebounds, so they're more than likely going to be in situations where they might land on someone's foot real weird. They're quite big, so there's a lot of pressure and damage that can be done to muscles, ligaments, tendons, bones, all that sort of stuff, and really that's the type of stuff that could add to it. Older players generally could have breakdowns in their muscle and bone density and strength and different things like that, and really that's just a factor of age, and I don't think that really is much of a muchness, as long as they're basically contributing to that particular part. And if their part or their role that they're contributing to is a specific task, well, it's obviously going to limit things like their time on the court. It might also limit to the opportunities where they're going to need to contribute and they're producing within that particular section of the game. A perfect example of that is if you look at guys like Kyle Korver. Kyle Korver, not necessarily an older player when he was playing towards the tail end of his career, in my opinion. He was a shooter. Other guys like Steve Kerr, shooters. Robert Horry, shooter, big time shooter. In the later parts of the game, real clutch shooter. Their job was to come on, put buckets in short stints and get off, or come on into moments when they need to score, hit a good shot, hit a contested shot or a last minute shot, and well, they did their job. If you think about other players where they have a particular role, you can think about one of the biggest examples of that would be Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, one of the greatest rebounders and, in my opinion, defenders of all time, arguably defenders of all time. And he wasn't someone who really thought too much about scoring. Could he score? Yeah. Did he do a tremendous amount of it? No, not really. The team didn't need him to. And if you think about these players that we're talking about, they're probably not going to need to do much else outside of their role. Let's look at Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard in his younger years playing with Orlando, a lot of pressure was put on him to score, produce, defend, block shots, rebound, all that sort of stuff. A lot of extra pressure on him, and to be perfectly honest, well, he didn't see a lot of success. Where did he see success? When he started to play a role. His career started to see a little bit of a turnaround when he was doing the tasks that he was required to. Whether that meant come off a bench, grab rebounds, protect the paint, he did it. Another example, Javel Mcgee, same sort of thing. I wouldn't say that he had the same sort of pressure in regards to being able to produce, but he was a lot more athletic and displayed his athleticism, and really was, a hot topic with shows. He really was a hot topic around getting clowned on because of the fact that, well, he was trying to do too much. When he then started to stop, focus, play his role, and really keep it simple, things turned around, and he was in really good team settings. Look at that Warriors team. A lot of pressure wasn't put on him to do much else than what he did, and it showed. When he played with the Lakers, same sort of thing. What he did showed, and it's had a real big turnaround on his career. If we look at some of the other guys, well, they've still got a lot of gas in the tank to be able to produce. One of my favorites is Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo's style of play really hasn't changed too much since his joining the league, and he's really just been a facilitator, really crafty player, and someone who I think is a fantastic player and attribute to any team if the system allows them to see success. You can take any team and change the system in the way that the players work, and generally the team can produce a little bit better. That being said, throwing a star player at it isn't necessarily going to be the fix of all problems, and we've seen that in the past. Camilo Anthony is not someone that I've been a big fan of in the past, purely because of the fact that I found him to be a really good shooter, really quick shooter, an effective post player, but his tendency to do 37 different jab step moves before he takes a shot and effectively be somewhat of a black hole when the ball goes into the post to him, it can be of detriment to the flow of the game. I'm a big fan of ball movement and player movement. I realistically think that if the ball moves, players move, then the defense has to move, and it just creates more opportunity. That's just me, that's my opinion. Take with it what you will. But if you have ultimately players that play their role and contribute and do what they need to, then in my opinion, proof is in the pudding. Team's going to do better than what a lot of the other teams are going to do because of the fact that maybe they're relying too much on star players or, two guys to produce all the points, where everyone spreads the load defensively and offensively. It doesn't matter what rotation's on the court. They're going to do a lot better.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Coming back to age and some of the other players, one of the things that has been really frustrating for me is when I think about guys like Jamal Crawford. The last time we saw Jamal Crawford on a team was on the 1920 season, playing with the Brooklyn Nets with that whole bubble situation, and he was 41 years old. The dude can absolutely get buckets. He's one of those types of players that is exceptionally crafty, great ball handler. Again, arguably one of the best ball handlers that have been out there, at least top 5 if you wanted to make an argument, outside of other guys like Kyrie Irving, and you can see that there's a lot of influence from the way that people like Jamal Crawford have played in their type of game. The fact that that guy's not on a team absolutely blows my...
What's your profanity?
It's just hella aggravating. Like, why is the dude not on a team? But I think a lot of the time when you think about front offices, they think about age and they get deterred. I really don't think it matters. If they're producing and they're able to do what they need to, then what does it matter? Some other players to look at and consider is a little bit aggressive when you think about the comparison, but you can think about guys like Dirk Nowitzki and Vince Carter. Dirk Nowitzki played up until he was at the age of 40, and Vince Carter played until he was at the age of 43. And while we could look at players like Dirk Nowitzki not really making too much of a difference in the style of play that he had across his career, I think that probably worked to his advantage because of the fact that, well, it really didn't put a lot of pressure on his body. Same sort of thing with Jason Kidd. Played the same, really didn't change too much outside of developing an outside shot. Vince Carter was able to translate his game a lot differently as he started to get into his twilight years because of the fact that, well, he wasn't trying to dunk on everyone. He wasn't not able to dunk. He absolutely was. He was still dunking. But it wasn't something that he was really having to worry about and do a lot of. And he played more of a shooting role, 3-and-D type position. Now, some other examples of how players have changed their play style is, well, we can actually look at 2 of the greatest players of all time, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. In the beginnings of their career, they were exceptionally athletic and they played that way. And as they started to develop further along in their career, their game style changed and they developed way more of a post-game, mid-range shot, and were playing the game in a smarter context. And it's really cool to see guys like DeMar DeRozan look at that and really take that on board and develop a post-game. And I think that it just allows them to be able to play smarter, put more boards, put more points on the board without having to really put a lot of effort in. That then just allows you to have a deeper tank and be more of a threat. And they still really were able to be dominant in their later careers purely by just playing smarter. Did that really make much of a difference by their age? No, not really. We're looking at guys like Kobe Bryant. It was really just the fact that he was such a freak. Pushed himself really, really hard, and injuries. the nature of the game. Sometimes it happens with guys when they're rookies and their career goes sideways. Sometimes it happens right at that moment when they're just starting to bust out. You know, Brandon Roy's a perfect example of that. Gilbert Arenas, another dude. Circling back, in my opinion, I think it's really cool that the Lakers have been able to take a moment and really not give two shits about the age of these players and look at what they're able to produce and play. But it's also really cool to see players come back from health circumstances like LaMarcus Aldridge, being an older guy and dealing with Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. If you don't know what it is, it's basically an abnormality within the heart that causes rapid heartbeat. And, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing to have to deal with if you're an athlete and putting your body under a lot of stress, especially cardiovascular stress. So, all props to him. I hope that he has a really good part of his career, and it's really exciting to see him be able to get back on the court. Is their production the key thing that we really should be focusing on? Absolutely. Coming back to my overall thoughts and wrapping this up, really, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference on a player's age. It really just comes down to, can they stay healthy? Are they taking care of their body? Can they play their role? And the luck that just comes into the game of basketball to be able to get deep into the playoffs. Jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts, and if there's a team or situation that you'd like me to look at, let me know. I'd love to give my impressions and talk some shit, drink some tea. Anyways, thanks again for checking in with me. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Until next time, peace. What's good? Thanks for checking out the video. I hope you liked it. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you got a second, check out this other video I got right here. I think it's in this area here. Check it out.